Welcome to the latest episode of 5 on the Floor on the 5 Reasons Sports Network. Thanks for joining us on your favorite podcast app on Apple Podcasts, on Android to recommend Spotify. Also, make sure you check out the 5 Reasons YouTube channel for content around South Florida. Also, check out Off the Floor. That's our Discord server, $2.99 per month. Link right there in the description. You will bypass the Apple upcharge, the most heat anywhere. And yes, a lot of this stuff we put there first. So you're going to want to be there. Otherwise, you're finding out late. Check out Off the Floor. Again, 10 different channels, plus the stage shows, much more to come. Link right here in the description. Also, check out our friends. This is an appropriate episode for what's been going on lately. An appropriate sponsor, our friends who hosted Alex and I the other day, 305-800-PAIN. If you have a car accident, they are always ready to take your call. Fast connection with trusted doctors and attorneys. They got a community focus. They're a local brand, like as I said, based right there in Doral, committed to Miami-Dade and South Florida. Trust and credibility, Better Business Bureau accredited with an A+ rating. They specialize in car accidents, personal injuries, and related legal matters. The number itself is the brand. It's 305-800-PAIN. That's 305-800-PAIN. Make sure that you check them out today. Reach out to Manny, Danny, our entire crew down there. Really, really good people, and they'll get you to the right attorneys. Again, check it out. It's 305-800-PAIN. And now, today's episode.
Uh-oh. Yeah. It's Mercy. Music by Mercy again. Heat Nation. We the culture. Yo, E, I need you to call time out. Need Brady to set the floor plan. Tropical blanket. Open for the shot. Yo, Greg, set the pick. Still 5 on the floor. Still ride for my dog. Still battle on the court. Still survive in the war. Keep your eye on the ball. Or get burned from the keep this mic off the wall without turning the cheek. From night to day, no sleepy paths or allowed to morning. The nut is sleeping us. Never catch us snoring. Live from Miami. Report in the heat with 5 Reasons Sports from the courts to the streets. Yeah. Wake County, Heat Nation, we say it proudly.
Welcome to 5 on the Floor, a daily insider show on the Miami Heat and the NBA, featuring Ethan Skolnick, Greg Sylvander, Alex Toledo, Brady Hawk, and others from the 5 Reasons Sports Network. Also, make sure to subscribe to Off the Floor for the most heat anywhere.
All right, welcome back to 5 on the Floor. Here's today's floor plan. I'm Ethan Skolnick. You can follow me at Ethan J. Skolnick at 5 Reasons Sports. I got Greg Sylvander. You can follow him at Greg Sylvander. And I think we have Alex Toledo. Oh, there he is. You can follow him at Tropical Blanket. First time the three of us have done an episode in a long time. It's these events that bring us together. And there he just disappeared again. He's probably going to disappear again and again and again. I've given him a 20-minute time limit for this episode, so he's got 18 minutes left to figure this out. Anyway,
I forgot who Alex was. Like, we haven't potted together in so long that I think we should reintroduce ourselves to each other. No.
What's up, man? I hope you're doing well.
Let's move on. Yes.
Okay, and I'm going to leave, and I'll let the two of you handle this because I've already done 2 podcasts today, and we've got 3 more ready to go. Tyler Herro, if you're not aware at this point, if you're a Heat fan, you probably are, is going to miss roughly 8 weeks. Came out on Friday, had a surgery. We thank you if you followed our reporting related to this. And we've done a couple of episodes since. The first one was Greg and I did a reaction to it immediately. And then Brady and I did an episode about who needs to step up now with Tyler out and what the starting lineup could look like. And he speculated that this could be the time to put Nikola Jovic in the starting lineup to get a little bit more offensive creativity, take some pressure off Norm Powell, and then put Davion Mitchell in Herro's spot and bring Ware off the bench. I think that is likely the way that Spoelstra is going to go. But we're going to talk about something bigger picture here because we know that a lot of you want us to get to this, and it is the specter of the contract situation. And this was going to be a topic regardless. We knew that. Greg and I did a couple of episodes related to this already, and how essentially these extensions for Powell and for Herro and for Jovic, but particularly for Herro and Powell, that there was sort of a wait and see. There's been reports that they may try to extend Powell. You and I thought it might happen even before camp. That's some of what we heard. Then there was another report from Barry Jackson that they might do it sort of in a little bit into the start of the season. But some of it was seemingly, again, dependent on how Powell and Herro fit. Now we're not going to get a look at that for a while. We're not going to get a look at it in camp. We're not going to get a look at it for the first month of the season. But Norm Powell is going to have an opportunity here to show that he's worth extending for the Miami Heat in a way that the Clippers did not feel he was, which is one of the reasons that he became available. But the Hero thing, regardless, whether they extended Powell and or Jovic or not, this was going to be a topic of conversation the entire year, even though we did not expect Tyler to act as badly as Jimmy did last year. And I know, again, Alex, you and I will get into a whole side argument on that. We don't want to do that. But the Hero thing was going to be a big deal. Okay. And now it's a bigger deal. Right, Greg? Like, because one of the knocks against Tyler, as far as extending him, was, well, could you count on him to be on the court? I mean, this was one of the things that went into play with Jimmy, even though he's 10 years older, and there were different reasons why Jimmy wasn't on the court, because he was kind of pacing himself. Tyler doesn't pace himself, but he hasn't been available in critical situations for the Heat over the years, with the exception of last season, where he responded to Pat's comment calling him fragile by playing 77 games and being available in the playoffs. Now he's going to miss 15, 20.
Yeah.
I mean, the max
15,
he's
I
going to
think,
play
is the right number to assume right now. And that's a
Right,
total assumption.
So he's not playing 70 plus games this year. He might play 60 plus games. He might play 50 plus games. In your view, does that affect the way that the Heat view him? As long as this, with one caveat, and I'll let you jump in here, that this ankle foot situation is not chronic. Okay. Let's assume that they are comfortable that taking care of this now means it won't become a problem later. If that's the case, does that affect what he should earn from the Miami Heat?
I'm glad you frame it that way, because before we even dive into any of this, let's hope Tyler Herro heals and is in good shape for the rest of his career, because that transcends all the BS that we're, obviously talking about as it relates to basketball, which, as Riley always says, is the toy department of human affairs. So Tyler Herro, get healthy. But I think that there's a number of things. Like Bobby Marks tweeted today that Tyler Herro is eligible for a 3-year, $150 million extension. And the Heat do have a deadline to, I guess, get that done before they would have to then revisit it next summer. And I think the wait and see approach, you just have to kind of double down on that, right? Like that's what you're doing here. And it is, I think that it's probably a sign that they're going to wait and see with everybody. I could be wrong about that, but I think that it is clear that they're not going to get to evaluate the first 15, some odd games, what this really looks like. And so they're going to probably be hesitant to extend anyone. That's just my initial gut reaction to this, as we obviously figure out more. And how 8 weeks, to me, I was surprised that's a great timeline from my perspective. I thought it was going to be longer, in all honesty.
Yeah, it is shorter than I expected also, only because I initially heard 8 to 12. And remember, 3 or 4 of those weeks are when the Heat are not playing regular season games. So it does mean he'll miss the exhibition in Orlando, or in Puerto Rico, against Orlando. And he's going to miss the season opener, obviously, and he's going to miss a lot of really difficult games early. The Heat's schedule early is rough. We've discussed that, and this is not going to make it any easier. Alex, you wrote a piece for Sports Illustrated, which actually I'm just getting around to posting, but by the time this podcast is up, it will have posted. In your view now, and I first start with where you thought Tyler's number should have come in to begin with, and does this affect it? And does this mean that you definitely wait until after the season to do anything?
No doubt it affects it. That part of it is not a tough question. Where I thought the number was going to end up, I had kind of thought in my head that the place that I thought the two parties would end up at would be somewhere around 40 mil annually. And I know that's not necessarily like what everybody wants to hear. I was just kind of trying to think about what, the other contracts and people that are considered somewhere around his caliber of player, kind of the way that everything is going right now, where like the NBA superstars now, the best of the best, kind of like Pat mentioned in his exit interviews, are getting around 70 mil now. So players like Tyler Herro probably are making around 35, 40 mil. I think that's what I had in my head, but now I think for sure you wait. I think it seemed like that was going to happen anyways, right? Based on everything that we had heard in the exit interviews from both Tyler and Pat, it seems like there was, the way that, like, hearing those two things, it wasn't back to back because it wasn't on the same day. Tyler went first, but hearing that and then hearing what Pat had to say was like, oh, I think he answered that question perfectly. They both kind of, alluded to the fact that it's most likely going to end up a next summer thing. And, like Pat said, pay me now or pay me later. That's kind of how he was looking at it. Tyler said the whole thing about how it's going to be more expensive. And I think maybe that might have been interpreted a negative way by certain people, but it's just a factual thing. Like, if they wait a year, instead of him being eligible for 3 years, 150 mil, he's eligible for 4 years, 207 mil. So I feel like, he was kind of referencing that. And it just seems like, I'm sure he wouldn't mind an extension. Like, if they wanted to just pay him up front and pay him that money right away, I'm sure he'd accept it. But it seems like it was going to be headed there anyways, and now it feels like, a nail in that coffin.
I think it is a nail in that coffin, but I agree with you that I don't think that it was going to happen anytime soon anyway. This was in a lot of ways a wait and see season, and part of the wait and see was what's going to happen in the playoffs. I do feel that's still one of the issues. I mean, the Heat have to see whether or not a team led primarily by Bam and Tyler not only can get you into the playoffs, but can do something once you get there, especially if you've given them, provided he was going to be here this entire season, Wiggins, some, growing young players like Jovic and Ware, and then also what Powell was going to bring. So I do think there was going to be a wait and see regardless. I guess the problem here now is that you're not going to see certain things that you wanted to see until now later into the season. And one of those was the connection with Powell. I think it makes it harder to decide whether to extend Powell early in the year because you haven't seen him on the court with Herro. Like, and how can you pay Norm Powell, say 3 for $80 or something along those lines, if you don't know what kind of fit he is with him? Like, Davion's taken care of. That's fine. Like, Davion's going to get more minutes now. He's making $12 million each of the next 2 years. It's great that you have him. You can plug him as a starter. He started last season. You're going to be better defensively probably than you would have been. You're going to be worse offensively by far probably than you would have been. That part of it is okay. But Herro and Powell, like a backcourt connection, like if that caught fire early in the season, that makes you think a little bit. Okay, you want to keep these guys together. They're not tripping all over each other. They're, 1 + 1 is equaling 2.5 instead of 1.5. Like, that's the kind of stuff that you want to see. We're not going to see it for a little bit of time. The other problem with it, and on the other side, we'll get more into the exact money aspect of it, is that it is possible that the Heat season could be sunk by the time Tyler comes back because of that schedule. If you look at those first 9 games, like if you start 2-7, okay, and you're digging out of a hole the entire season, well, we're going to have a lot of whether Tyler's going to save it when he comes back or anything, that kind of stuff. Like, you can't count on any of that. Like, this year could go.
We're not going to be able to evaluate anything according to them because we're not going to have seen the whole team together. We're going to be hearing about that for sure.
I'm still waiting. I'm still waiting to see Norris Cole, Josh McRoberts, Luol Deng, Dwayne Wade, and Chris Bosh on the court together, because I heard that for the entire 2014-15 season, and I know I'm going to hear that stuff again. We need to wait to evaluate it. But, again, you need to make a decision on Tyler here at some point. I do want to, and I'm going to pivot back to Greg here after the break. I do want to ask this question. Are you concerned about paying a guy who, except for one season, has not been able to stay on the court? And there is a parallel, because I know you're a Dolphin fan, and we have paired the two of them together in a lot of ways, because they are the two most polarizing athletes in South Florida over the past few years. By the way, they've both been around about the same amount of time. Okay, Tua came in 2000. And people I'm talking about, Tua Tagovailoa, came in 2020. Tyler came in 2019, right? Injury concerns with both that if they are elevated in your program, you're not going that far. Like, that they're good players, but not good enough, and that you kind of get stuck.
But there was never tank for Tyler. There was tank for Tua. So there was a little more expectations behind him.
Yes, at the beginning. Absolutely. The polarization has happened since, but not at the very beginning. At the beginning, there was tank for Tua. Everybody wanted Tua. Tyler was a player that Heat fans didn't know about until they drafted him and then started to find out about him. But he jumped right off the page at the beginning, obviously, because of what happened in the bubble. But there's kind of, I guess if you follow both teams, And now a lot of people who were Tua supporters who have kind of thrown their hands up at this point, like me, some of those same people, may throw their hands up about Tyler because they've been defending him, for not being on the court. Okay, well, he played 77 games last year and all the rest of that. And now we're going to have another season where he's not, just like some fans that were defending Tua. Not that he's been out, but defending Tua. And now at this point, kind of throwing their hands up. And I just wonder if that affects sort of the public sentiment here as we go forward. But I do want to talk more about the specifics of what you offer him and where this goes from here. But also, we're talking about money, right? Okay, well, we should be talking about Cash App too. With Cash App, you can spend, save, and live your life knowing your money is right where you left it. With advanced built-in security protections you can count on, you can count on and help when you need it. Spend with peace of mind today and order a Cash App card in the app or at cash.app/card. Also, we tell you all the time that you just got to download Cash App first and use our code because you're going to get a little bit of extra money that way. So use our exclusive referral code on the floor when you download Cash App. New Cash App customers can use that code to earn additional cash. Once you download it, put on the floor in your profile, send $5 to a friend within 14 days, and you get $10 dropped right into your account. Terms apply. That's money. That's Cash App. Cash App is a financial services platform, not a bank. Banking services provided by Cash App's bank partners. Prepaid debit cards issued by Sutton Bank, member FDIC. Instant discounts provided by Cash App, a blocking brand. Visit cash.app/legal/podcast for full disclosures. Are you concerned, Greg? And I know this is somewhat similar to the first question I asked you, but are you concerned as you're negotiating with Tyler Herro that you're never going to see a full season and a complete playoff performance from him, and that becomes one of the strikes against him as far as giving him north of $40 million a year?
It has to be a concern. You have to take into consideration that we haven't been able to see that, and that even in the moments that he has played in the playoffs, it hasn't been like always a resounding success. So it's not necessarily just that he's missed games. It's that there's been moments where he's got the chance to play and he hasn't necessarily been great on that stage always. And to commit to him, I mean, I guess we are in the era of the league where contracts are not as long. And I would wonder if the Heat went to him right now, post surgery, and said, we'll give you 3 for 112 or 115. Would you take it just to get that deal locked in, despite the fact that he's going to miss the first 15 some odd games of the season? I'm interested to hear both of your thoughts on whether that would be something that you would lean toward, because, we talk about the $40 million a year. I feel like that's probably it's going to be north of that if he plays as we expect him to play at an all-star level, just at the going rate of players of his caliber. If he's in the all-star conversation, he's going to get north of $40 million. And so I just think that part of this is the market for players is as such where you're not going to get him at a huge discounted rate. I just don't see it happening.
See, Alex, here's where I'm at with it. And I like the premise and the direction Greg's going there. I would try to get him on a friendlier deal right now. Here's where I trust his performance and his work ethic enough that I'd still offer him the extension, even though he's going to miss 15 to 20 games. And by the way, could miss more later in the season. Who knows? There could be another injury, another ailment, another freak accident. I mean, he's had a bunch of things happen that were crazy, that were beyond his control. And I'm not saying this was within his control, but
knock on wood.
Knock on something. But when you're out, you're out. Right? When you're out, you can't help the team. That is what it is. I don't like the term injury prone because a lot of these injuries are like Tyler dives for a loose ball and he gets hurt. Does that make him injury prone? I don't know. But Pat used the word fragile. So I guess he went further than I did. But I trust him enough to continue to improve his performance, at least on the offensive end, and keep developing his skills, that I still think it's worth extending him. But I also think that the Heat can use this to basically save a few $1 million from what they might have otherwise had to pay, which will give them more quote unquote flexibility to do other things, whether it's stay under the tax or more likely stay under the aprons going forward. I mean, I'd offer him 3 for 100 right now and see how far off you are. He's not taking that. There's no chance. I don't need anybody getting upset at me on that. But I'm saying, like, I would try to maybe negotiate with him from, I don't want to say a position of strength, but you kind of are in a position of strength right now, aren't
Alex is
you?
gonna feel gross talking about that.
No, it's so funny because it's
Right?
actually exactly
I was
what
just
was
throwing
going
it
through
out
my
there.
head too. I it was 1,000% going through my head as soon as you guys started talking here in this segment. It's like 100 mil. Is that that might be a little bit disrespectful, like for his end. I'm not like I think that would be a great
Yeah,
number, like
it
kind of
is.
like a compromise. But I think for like if I had to, again, I'm just completely speculating, guessing that Tyler wouldn't settle for that right away. Like as
No.
opposed, especially because he's going to be back still in the beginning of the season, right? Like you said, the season might be effed by then if things go wrong at the start, right? Like if you have to dig yourself out of a hole, like you said, but he's gonna have all season to show that he's that guy, right? And based off his Instagram story, I think he still feels good about himself for this upcoming season. So I don't know. I just don't think like based off everything we've heard that he's gonna feel necessarily like he has to settle for something right away. But I'm 100% with you guys when it comes to like the concerns about whether or not you extend him, period, like at that level of money, right? I think it gets a little bit murky. There's so many things going on that it's hard to like come to a great answer. It's like, okay, I don't know where the Heat stand right now. Like they're kind of in this weird transition period where like, yeah, they obviously value, they're good players, they're young players, all that stuff, but I don't really know what they're going for other than stay competitive and wait for the next star to come over and you pounce on that. Like I get that part of it, but since you're not like in this win now mode, I'm not necessarily like, hey, just pay your good players and get it out of the way. I think it's honestly like it just makes a lot of sense to wait till next summer. Like the whole stuff with the availability, I just think it's a big factor. The defense stuff has been a big factor. The playoff stuff, right? Like even though we haven't seen him in his most ideal role in most of the playoff runs since the bubble, and or he's missed time, right? Like I understand all that context and all that. Like even with that, it's still like these are three serious concerns that I would have about paying Tyler a certain amount of money. I think that's why I come down to like, that 35 mil per year, I think would be a really nice spot for the Heat there. But
Well,
even then, like,
that's
even if you get that right away, like you're kind of giving up, you're foregoing the quote unquote flexibility you get by going into next offseason with, your book's a little bit cleaner. But that's already being like, that might be thrown out the window already with what you guys were talking about earlier in the summer with like, there seems like they're considering a lot of extensions right now. So I'm just not sure what they're going for. And then when you combine that with all the stuff that we talk about with Herro, all the concerns, it's like, it doesn't sound like a situation that's gonna end with an extension, even if that he'd try to use this as leverage.
well, look, it's business, okay, and
No, 100%.
it's business, and the three concerns that you mentioned, okay, two of them were going to exist this year regardless, right? The defense one is that one's not going away, and the playoffs one was not going away unless this team got to the playoffs in a good position, and then he really produced in the playoffs because of the help that he has around him and obviously his own improvements. But the one that had kind of gone away was, and I've been saying it had gone away, was the availability one, and now that one's back. So now you have all
The
three
jinx
of them.
continues.
Right, I know it's my fault. It's always my fault. Maybe he's giving me the finger. I don't know. But those three, okay, those three things are still there. And let's pivot to his position, okay. And again, he's not going to buy into any of this because he's going to bet on himself. And I agree with you. He's probably going to, if they offered him 3 for 100, he'd probably find it insulting. But I'm going to try to put myself in his position, okay, or not his position, somebody's position like his, okay, because I'm not going to speak for him, okay, in any way. All right, but let's just say, okay, that you're a player who has had some injuries in the past, okay, and you want to make a lot of money in the future, and we have seen guys who lose out on possible paydays because they do bet on themselves and then they get hurt again and again and again. And if somebody's offering you, say, 100, it starts at 100, and then you get it to 115, and it's 3 for $115 million, and you know that you're
What if
set.
it's a 2+1?
It could be a 2+1. It could be a 2+ a player option, right? Okay, something along those lines. But what I'm saying is, there is the specter of him getting hurt again, and as he keeps getting hurt, then there's the chance of continuing to lose earning power going forward. And sometimes it's just better to get that money in the bank when you can for a team that you want to play for, a team with no state tax, which is a significant difference. Okay, and a team that has valued you, drafted you. And although there's been lots of trade rumors, I know that have been a pain in the ass, has played a part in your development. There is a case to be made at the very least. Like, maybe just take the security right now. And then if he ends up getting hurt again, well, at least he's got his money, right? Like, I mean, that's the thing, where he's got a significant amount of money.
And he's at a place that he likes.
Right.
And the other part of this that I find interesting is that often from the Heat's perspective, they could say, well, if we don't pay Tyler, who the hell are we going to pay? Like, who's better than him? And they're in a unique moment where Norm Powell is going to slide into the position of Tyler Herro to start this season. And he's also obviously playing for an extension as well. So it is interesting, that dynamic, and how they'll be able to leverage it. And
might bring down Norm's value too.
Well, it might bring up Norm's value. Here's the other part, Greg, to your point. Okay. I'm going to use your phrase here. To your point. Okay. Here's another scenario other than Tyler getting hurt beyond this and then ends up playing 40 games this season. Okay. What if the team plays better without him? I'm not expecting that, but we also were not expecting them to make a finals run without him.
Yeah, but they still had their best player intact.
They did have their best player. I'm not expecting it. I'm not saying that they're going to be a better team without Tyler here. I don't think so. Okay. I would bet against it. Okay. All right. In a significant way. Don't come after me, NBA. But all right. There is that chance. There is that chance that they find a style that works for them like they did before. Spo has a couple of weeks before training camp. This isn't something he has to do on the fly. And by the way, Tyler Herro wouldn't be the first Heat star that the Heat played better without. Go back to Chris Bosh in 2015-16.
Maybe they start off as like a great defensive team.
What if they pivot to that? What if they have a top 5, top 7 defense? And what if, by the way, and again, to finish the thought here, look at Bosch's situation in 15-16. They had a much better record with Chris out. Everybody knows what I think of Chris, okay? Hall of Famer. They had a better record with Chris out when Luol Deng moved to the 4. They ended up signing Joe Johnson, okay, at a certain point that season. It flamed out in the playoffs, but they played better with that new style. Also, by the way, everybody knows what I think of Alonzo Mourning. They played better in the 2000-2001 season without Alonzo Mourning than they did when Alonzo Mourning came back. They were 42-27 without Zoe. They were 8-8, including the playoffs with Zoe. There's going to be a transition period when Tyler comes back. Maybe not to the significance of those two players, but there's going to be a transition period. It is not crazy when they played better without Zoe and without Bosh to say they could play better without Tyler, right? They also had situations, and people forget this, there was a whole without Wade hashtag at one point. Remember that? What year was that? Remember that, right? Okay.
Yeah, that feels like the depths of hell.
Right. But again, there is a Ewing theory that Bill Simmons has put out about how sometimes teams play better without a particular player because they find a different kind of style. They simplify things. That all comes from 1999 playoff run for the Knicks where Ewing was out. They played through Sprewell and Houston, Camby. They found a different up-tempo style. They beat the Heat in the first round. They made it to the finals. I'm just saying it's not crazy to say, Tyler could get hurt again this season and ends up playing only 30 games. It's not crazy to say that they could find a style that works, although I'm not expecting it. I wouldn't bet on it. And that essentially they could have a better record without Tyler than they could with. In that case, Alex, doesn't that hurt his earning power? Isn't that an argument to be made? Right?
Yeah, especially when you consider like the context of the playoff runs and stuff. Right. Like I think this might hurt even more if they somehow like found like all of a sudden it's like, oh no, the Heat are a good regular season team. Like they are trucking on. Because it's like, before at least you had like Jimmy playing like this top 10 player and it was just an obvious explanation, great team defense along with it. But you had that infrastructure there. Right now you look at it, it's like if they're like chugging along and they're playing great, right? Like that's going to be kind of surprising, don't you think? Like I know that again, I'm not trying to downplay what they did in those playoff runs, but man, like I don't see the vision as far as offense. Like I think their offense was already so rough last year. You had Powell come in to try to alleviate that, play a different style. Now I don't know. Like Powell, for as good as he is a worse playmaker than Herro. Is going to have to take on. He's not a bad playmaker. I'm not trying to say he doesn't pass the ball, nothing like that. But he's going to have to take on this role where he's playmaking more. Wiggins is now going to probably do some of the stuff he was doing last season in that starting lineup where he's scoring a lot. I'm sure they're going to go to Bam as a scorer. Like that all that stuff that I was talking about just went out the door when it comes to like point Bam with Herro and Powell running off the screens. All that stuff went out the door. I think they're going to go back to being like a grinded out, get everything out of the mud type of team. And maybe they're successful at that part of it. But the offense is just like where I'm like, oh man, I think it might be a slog again. I don't know how, like, I don't think there's going to be like an offense where their passes are super crisp and the ball movement is awesome. I mean, maybe like Nico can spark things if that's like their X factor weapon here. Like
who's going to space the floor?
Yeah, like it seems like they have a lot of questions offensively. Like maybe if the defense is just that good, like it'll help. But again, like without somebody who can just take on that load, like some of these other examples you pointed out, like when Wade was out, you had LeBron take on the load. When Tyler was out in previous playoff runs, you had Jimmy take on the load. I don't think that Bam and Powell are necessarily on that level where, like, yeah, you can give them the ball more, and they're going to, and as well as Wiggins, but that would be really surprising to me, and I think that would be hurtful for sure to Tyler's earning power. Like, this has just become like such a murky situation, man. Like, I don't know where this is gonna go.
Well, it's not like we haven't had any murky situations lately. All last season was a murky situation, the entire thing. So, Greg, I'll let you close this. I'm not saying that I'm expecting them to be better with Tyler out, especially the way that they're currently constituted. I'm just saying that Spo will find a style, and then it's a question of how these guys are able to execute that. And do you have Larson? Look, Larson's going to get more minutes now. Jovic is going to get more minutes now. Those are two guys that are going to benefit. I said this on the podcast with Brady. Again, Jaime Jaquez, if not now, when? Right? I mean, they cleared out Highsmith from some of those minutes. Not that he was going to play a lot. Now you don't have. That was more of a just a sort of a minutes jam. This is more of an offense.
Maybe it's some time for the rookie, as you say.
Well, I still don't think that's going to happen. We both think that Brady and I both think Drew Smith, as soon as he is
Drew is going to play. That is sure
when he's ready.
Right.
Yeah,
right. As Drew's going to get 38 minutes coming off an Achilles injury. that's pretty much where this is headed. But no, they're going to have to be very precise. And one of the things that is going to be difficult is for Norm Powell is, if he's going to be a number one option, that's different. And Brady posted some of his stats on Off the Floor, talked about it on the podcast, but in the games that Harden missed last year, Powell struggled. And now, the whole idea again was for Powell and Herro to play off of each other. So I just want to be clear on this because I'm going to be misquoted. I do not think it's a good thing in any way that Tyler Herro is out. I don't think they're going to play better without him. I'm just saying, if I were the Heat right now and you do want to keep Tyler and you don't want to pay up, this isn't the best time, the worst time, excuse me, Greg, to make an offer that maybe could be beneficial to both sides, right? Assuming this is not a traumatic long-term, injury that's going to be happening every couple of months.
It makes sense transaction-wise. It makes sense if this was 2K, but it's not. Yeah. And I think that, like, there's a part of it that because there's people involved with real feelings and stuff like that, I don't know that the Heat are going to necessarily try to position it like they're using his injury to influence how they value him. So it's a real delicate balance there where, the business aspect of this can turn a relationship sour. I mean, we just watched a whole season get thrown to the wayside by a player and a organization that didn't see eye to eye. So the Heat are going to be, I think, hypersensitive to make sure it doesn't go that way. So it'll be interesting to see how they handle it. I personally believe that this will be a moment where they double down on not investing in anyone until they see a little bit more on the court.
Possible. Like you said, it spiraled badly last year, but the major reason it started to spiral was Pat Riley wanted to see Jimmy Butler on the court.
It's
And
funny
that's
that like
always what it comes
this,
back to.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. It's like the Jimmy thing, as you guys are alluding to there, like it all kind of started with this sort of indecision, right? You know,
Right.
and the indecision led to, you know, it partly, again, I'm not trying to only blame the Heat. I'm not doing any of that. I'm just saying like that sort of right frame of mind led to where they were at. And now you're over here where like this event has taken place, and it's now like as Leif is talking about, they're going to double down on indecision, and I'm not blaming them for that. Like, you know, this is obviously something completely out of their control. I already thought it was going to go to next year anyways, but it's just funny, like, you know, this cycle continues.
There's
And
PTSD. There's no doubt.
Yeah, well, there's PTSD from the Jimmy situation, but there's also PTSD from players going out who are key players, core players at the worst possible time, and this franchise has had a lot of that. By the way, Alex just went out of our feed, so I think that's a good time to end this. We're all going to get misquoted. We shouldn't do episodes together anymore. It leads astray. We'll do a few. All right, thanks to our sponsors, 305-800-PAIN. Reach out to them if you have a car accident. Also, check out Cash App. Use the code on the floor. Prize Pick, should have mentioned that one. Use the code 5FIVE. More episodes to come. We'll evaluate this every which way that we can.
Thank you for listening to the 5 on the Floor on the 5 Reasons Sports Network.